Good afternoon, everybody. You are here with Jacob Seus for the New York Sports Show. Thank you for listening to National Sports. Okay, so I today am going to be talking New York sports as usual, and obviously I'm going to start off with the Brooklyn blockbuster deal that went down last night. So, if you were as confused as I was about the parts going where about the trade, let me set it straight for you. Obviously, the Nets are getting Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Jason Terry is being thrown in there as well. But what the Nets are sending to Boston did get a little confusing. It is official that the Nets are going to send 3 first-round picks, 2014, 2016, and 2018, along with Marshawn Brooks, Chris Humphries, Chris Joseph, Keith Bogans, and Gerald Wallace. It was reported earlier that Reggie Evans and Toko Shangalia were also going to be part of that deal, but the Celtics withdrew that to get Marshawn Brooks and Chris Joseph. As you remember, Chris Joseph last year came in almost 3/4 of the way through the season. Nets repeatedly signed him to 10-day contracts until he got the end of the season nod. Didn't play much in the playoffs, but the Celtics liked what they saw in him, and he will be going to Boston as well. So, earlier yesterday, the Celtics and the Nets completed the deal. It was up to Kevin Garnett in the end whether he wanted the deal to go through. Nets Celtics reached a final agreement, but Kevin Garnett did have that no-trade clause that the Celtics did have to go to him and say, are you okay with this? And during last night's NBA draft, Coach Jason Kidd, Darren Williams apparently talked to Garnett, won him over. He waived his no-trade clause, and the deal is almost official. The teams did reach a principal agreement, but the deal cannot get done until July 10th for different money reasons. The biggest one being that next year Paul Pierce is set to make $17 million, but things that went on with the deal, Pierce is going to move on to his contract of next year that the Celtics picked up the option where he would only get $15 million, but that can't go into effect until July 10th. So that is the reasoning for that. So, my insight on this trade, I am 100% for it. The Nets have a motto of win right now. Not in the next 2-3 years, win right now. And that is what Prokhorov has brought to the Nets with his ownership. That's what GM Billy King has brought with his presence, and I really like that approach, because yes, you can say Garnett and Pierce are getting old. Garnett's 37, Pierce is 35, but both those players are devoted to winning right now. And I heard mixed reactions about this trade, and I did hear some people say that the Nets gave too much to Boston. And I do disagree with that, because just look at what we gave up. Marshawn Brooks wasn't used much for the Nets at all last year, even though he is a good player, but the Nets really didn't find a role for him in what they were looking for. Chris Humphries, you can do without him, especially with what they have off the bench right now. He's not an issue. Keith Bogans, all Keith Bogans really did was hit 3-pointers. And you're not going to miss that, especially with the addition of Jason Terry, who is a better 3-point shooter than Keith Bogans. So then they gave up Chris Joseph, who really didn't do much for the Nets last year, so I'm 100% okay with that. And then you give up Gerald Wallace, who did have a good season and a half in his time in New Jersey and Brooklyn, but the Nets were able to get the Celtics to pick up Gerald Wallace's contract, which is one of the worst contracts in the NBA. So the Nets got away with awesome there. That worked out perfectly. And the 3 picks, yes, that could come back to haunt the Nets in the future. That's definitely true. But for right now, with the mindset, win right now, I really, really like this move. So if you look at what's remaining on the Nets roster, the starting five is going to be Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, Brook Lopez, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. That's one of the best starting five in the game. You can put up a great argue for that. On the bench, Reggie Evans, here for good. Jason Terry, Tyshawn Taylor, Mirza Teletovic, Toko Shangilia, newly drafted Mason Plumlee, and whether or not the Nets are going to re-sign Andre Blatch and C.J. Watson is up for question. As of right now, it's more looking like that they're going to go with Blatch over Watson, if anyone. But we will see what the Nets do from there if they want to train Tyshawn Taylor to back up Darren Williams, or if they want to go out and get someone cheap. The starting five now, though, combines for a total of $81 million, which is a lot of money. The Nets' really budget is pretty high right now. So if they do go out and get anyone else before the start of the season, late October, it's going to have to be someone cheap and productive. But I do have faith that Billy King will go out and be able to find someone of that caliber. So with the trade, I would say, I've had people disagree, I would say that the Nets jump ahead of the Indiana Pacers right now. Last year, the Pacers were better than the Nets. The Nets are a better team now. And if you remember last season, the Nets had the Pacers' number. They beat Indiana almost every time the two teams played. And you now lost Gerald Wallace and gained Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. And Jason Terry. I think that definitely puts the Nets ahead of the Pacers 100%, in my opinion, in a head-to-head matchup. Overall, it's going to be close, but I do give the Nets the edge, at least for this season. And then another team in the Eastern Conference, the Bulls. I think it's all about how Derrick Rose comes back and produces. If he isn't the same after the injury, Nets are way ahead of the Bulls. Way ahead. But if he does come back and refines his game and is Derrick Rose, Bulls still might have the edge. I'm not even going to talk about Miami yet because they're Miami. I am interested to see, though, last year the Nets didn't even compete in the games against the Heat. We all saw that. But with these new additions, will they be able to compete? I think so. Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett have been on a Celtics team that competed against the Heat. Jason Kidd last year played for a New York Knicks team that competed against the Heat. So maybe these three additions will bring a formula that the Nets can work out to beat Miami. So that's something to look for in this upcoming season. So for the most part, that's really all I'm going to say about this trade. But let's stay on the Nets for a moment and talk about last night's draft held in the Nets' home, the Barclays Center. Many surprises in this draft, many different trades, including the Nets-Celtics deal. And with the 22nd pick, the Nets took Duke center Mason Plumlee. I really like this pick. I really do. I heard a lot of negativity around this pick, though. People felt that there were better options out there for the Nets to pick. But if you look, last year at Duke, Plumlee averaged 17 points, 10 rebounds. And look at this guy. He's a monster. 6'10", 235. I love this pick, especially to back up Brook Lopez. The Nets next year will be the best rebounding team in the league. Brook Lopez, Mason Plumlee, Reggie Evans, Kevin Garnett. You can't beat that. And I really think that's what Billy King was looking for, and that's what he got. When Lopez sits down, Plumlee is very, very reliable to go out there and get the job done and keep the Nets in the game. And I really, really do like this pick. We'll see how it's going to work out, especially with the Nets moving a lot of bench pieces to Boston. Plumlee is going to be a good addition off the bench. I really like what he's going to bring to the table, and I just think it was a good overall pick. I'm really getting excited for the Nets this season. When we came to Brooklyn, we were looking to be a headline team, and if you read the papers this morning, the Nets were on the cover of every paper. Newsday, the Post, Times, and that's what we're looking for. As a fan, that's what we're looking for here in Brooklyn. We want to be in the headlines. We want to compete for a title. And that's what Billy King realizes, and that's what he's going out and doing for this team. And as a fan, as a Nets fan, I appreciate everything Billy King is doing. He just signed an extension to be the Nets GM, and I hope he's here for years to come. He's one of the best GMs in the league. I would say so. In other Nets news, Jason Kidd has officially hired Lawrence Frank and Detroit's Roy Rogers to join him on his coaching staff this season. And again, I really, really, really like this move. Lawrence Frank, long head coaching experience, assistant coaching experience, did coach the Nets in New Jersey during our worst team in the league building days. And Lawrence Frank did coach Jason Kidd. Excuse me. So they are very tight. And I think what Frank will bring to this team will definitely help. And it will definitely help Jason Kidd mature as a head coach. And Roy Rogers from Detroit, considered to be one of the best assistant coaches in the game. I'm shocked that he hasn't got any consideration for any head coach. But he liked what he saw in Brooklyn. He left Detroit, and he is now with Jason Kidd. And Kidd took Lawrence Frank, who was the head coach in Detroit last year, did get fired, and Roy Rogers was on his staff. So everyone is really familiar with each other, and I think that's going to bring a sort of chemistry that can make this team work. I've heard all day, especially with the new acquisitions, will it work or will it not? Could it be another Lakers flop? And it could be. It very well could be. But with the Nets are doing, they are putting themselves in a position to succeed. They are putting themselves in a position to be on the top at the end of the season. They want to be there. If anyone knows how to lose, it's the Nets organization. And they have really built themselves a franchise that's going to win right now. And I love that. I am excited. I am pumped. The season really couldn't come soon enough for me. So, that is really it for the Nets. So, let's talk a little New York Mets. The Mets won yesterday in a makeup game in Colorado, 3-2 over the Rockies, with Marlon Byrd hitting a 2-run home run in the 8th inning when the Mets were down 2-1 to put them on top. They never looked back, finished the road trip strong. They finished at 7-4, and I really did see a lot of good out of this road trip. And I would really like the Mets to come home, last homestand before the All-Star break, and really finish the first half strong. It's been hard to watch at times. It's been strugglesome. But the Mets have really found themselves lately. And I see chemistry developing. They're starting to play together as one, and I do really like what I'm seeing. The one thing I'm excited to see on this homestand is, surprisingly, Zach Wheeler. Wheeler had a good first start in Atlanta. Command wasn't there. Then went to Chicago on Tuesday, I believe, and really didn't look good. His command was horrible. It was horrible. And at times, it was hard to watch. It really was. You know what? If your stuff just isn't there and they're hitting you left and right, fine. You need to work on some stuff. But if you are allowing runs because of walks, you're really killing me. Wheeler went 5 1/3, 4 earned runs. The White Sox got 4 hits. 4. That really shows the lack of production Wheeler's doing to opposing offenses, but really needs to control his command. He will be pitching this Sunday against Steven Strasburg. So that will be an interesting matchup to watch. Tonight's matchup will be Matt Harvey against Ross Detweiler for Washington. This is the Nationals' second straight game against an elite pitcher, or I wouldn't consider an elite, a pitcher having a phenomenal season, as they lost yesterday to Arizona's Corbin, who is in all-star consideration. Harvey, coming off a really, really good start, he did get pulled because of rain, so I'm interested to see tonight. I will be at the game. I'm interested to see firsthand. Either he'll have a lot of energy and be really, really good, because he did only throw 72 pitches in his last start, again, because of the rain, or will he come out over-energized, overthrowing, which we really haven't seen from Matt, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that tonight. Harvey, 7-1, 2.05 ERA, is in the top of every pitching category in the league, and looks to improve on that tonight. For Washington, as I said, Ross Detweiler will get the ball. He's 2-6 with a 4.18 ERA. Ross started off the year very good, very consistent, but has really, really struggled of late, and I would really like to see the Mets take advantage of that tonight and keep their hot streak going. I really like the production of everyone lately. Eric Young Jr. has been surprisingly a great pickup. He has energized the ball club with hits, steals, base running. I really like that. David Wright has been really hot lately. Everyone really hasn't been awful. They've really gotten their workload in. I would like to see John Buck produce more hitting. You know, he started off the year great. I don't think there was anyone that really thought he would continue like that the whole season, but you would like him to stay average, and his average has dropped to 214, and that's really not what the Mets are looking for. Travis d'Arnaud would be up at this point, if not for breaking his foot earlier in the season in AAA. But I would expect him to see him before September call-ups. I'm interested to see how he's going to fare, especially catching Harvey and Wheeler, which he probably will do, considering that's what he will do for years to come. Matt Harvey, in great consideration to start the All-Star game, which would be an honor as a Mets fan to see one of our own young start the All-Star game in our own stadium. that would be a highlight of the Mets' low season so far. Harvey 100% will make the All-Star game. His stats are through the roof. But it is up to Giants manager Bruce Bochy to pick Harvey as the starting pitcher. Last year, I know Mets fans felt that we really did get ripped off with R.A. Dickey not starting the All-Star game, considering through the first half he had one of the most dominant performances through 10, 15 starts that we really have seen in New York in a while. Like he dominated like no other, and Harvey is doing exactly the same, and I really feel that the Mets deserve this, especially in their own park. It would be an honor. All-Star voting results so far. You can still vote on Mets.com. David Wright was down by a lot to Giants third baseman Pablo Sandoval, but did regain the lead. He did. And he's there right now, and there are only a week or so more to vote, so I can't stress enough. Go vote for David Wright. He will be in the All-Star game, but have him start the game at third base. If you can have Harvey on the mound and David Wright at third base in our own park starting the All-Star game, I really feel that would be a success. Going into the season, I felt that David Wright was going to be the only one from the Mets who did make the All-Star game in our own stadium, which really would have been a disappointment. I really didn't expect Matt Harvey to be going out there and throwing out numbers that he is, so he will be there too. With the lack of production elsewhere, I don't see anyone else making it. Murphy's start with the season got him a chance. He was third place in the voting, which would get him an All-Star appearance, but he was hitting in the low 300s and now is down to the 270s, and that has pushed him back, and he most likely will not make the All-Star game. But go vote for David Wright. As a Mets fan, have them represent us in their own ballpark, in our own ballpark. I really do know it would mean a lot to David as well. So before the All-Star game, that Sunday, you are going to get the Futures game at Citi Field. And right now, Rafael Montero and Noah Syndergaard, highly looked at prospects in the Mets organization, have been voted to this game, and I'm very excited to see them. They will get a taste of Citi Field, which is very exciting. Noah, who was also acquired in the R.A. Dickey deal, is looked upon to be a good starting pitcher for the Mets. For the future, the starting rotation does look like Matt Harvey, Zach Wheeler, John Neese, Noah Syndergaard, and anyone you want to throw in that 5 spot. So he is highly looked at. Then you have Rafael Montero, who the Mets did draft a couple years back, and is also a good pitching prospect who could be a starter for the Mets come the future too. So I think it is a privilege for whoever can go out to see that Futures game on the Sunday before the All-Star game. I know I will be there. I am going to all the festivities starting Sunday, the Futures game and the Celebrity game. Then you have Monday, the Home Run Derby, where David Wright will make an appearance in his second Home Run Derby. He is the National League captain. If you don't expect Wright to do much in this Home Run Derby, remember in 2006 when his first Home Run Derby, when he did make it to the finals, losing to Phillies' Ryan Howard. So I think people should really take advantage of it and get out to the All-Star game because it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The last time the All-Star game was in New York was 1962 in a Mets ballpark. The last time the All-Star game was in New York was Yankee Stadium in its final season in 2008. But as a Mets fan, I think especially again the highlight of the season is this All-Star game. And I know, as a diehard Mets fan, I am very excited to go there and really see our organization being looked at very nicely. getting the All-Star game in our park. And I really want to see the Mets do a good job with this All-Star game and make themselves noteworthy. So, with about 5 minutes left in my show, I'm just going to touch up briefly on the New York Islanders quickly. So, free agency has started. We'll start on Monday. The draft is this weekend, Sunday afternoon, if you can make it out to the Coliseum. They're having a draft party. Tickets are free. So, the Islanders have the 15th pick. The draft this year really isn't looked on too high upon. So, you could see the Islanders make a move before the draft for maybe get rid of that pick. I know Roberto Luongo, I heard some talks, whether they were true or false, that the Islanders were in discussions for Luongo. My first aspect going into this offseason would be to re-sign Nabokov, because you don't want to find yourself in October without a goalie. You don't want Nabokov going somewhere else and not being able to trade for someone. I have heard that Philadelphia has interest in Nabokov. I really don't want to see him go there, especially that they now are looking for a goalie after they bought out Ilya Bryzgalov. Speaking of buying out, the buyout phase has begun Tuesday night, and the Islanders have yet to buy out the contract of Rick DiPietro, and I wonder what they are going to do with that, where they are going to put him for this upcoming season, whether it's in a backup role with the big club, or they're just going to let him rot in Bridgeport. I love Ricky, I really do, but in my opinion, I would send him elsewhere. Buy him out, let him go somewhere else. Being in New York is just not a good situation for him, and that's really all I wanted to say about DiPietro, but in my opinion, get rid of him. In free agency, though, the Tampa Bay Lightning did buy out Vinny Lecavalier, and I haven't heard anything about the Islanders expressing interest in him, but I think he would really be great. He's only 33, Lightning franchise leader in goals. He would be great, besides Tavares, for the veteran aspect and for the goal-scoring aspect. He's not washed out. He can still score you 20, 25 goals in a season, which would be great to bring to the team. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work. He does want a lot of money, though, that who knows if Garth Snow is going to be willing to spend. We will see throughout the next month or two what Garth Snow's plan really is. I have learned to respect him as the GM. He has done good for this team. The Islanders scouts have shown they've really done a nice job. So if Garth Snow doesn't do something, it is for a reason and for the best interest of the team in mind. So we will see throughout the next couple of months, July and August, whether the Islanders will make a big move or go with what they have now. This weekend we'll probably get a taste of what his plan is and what they are looking to do, whether they make a move and whether they don't make a move. I would like the Islanders, though, to add a couple of pieces, big, small, a couple goal scorers, defensemen. I know we're getting the prospects up. I'm very interested. I am seeing the prospects, whoever else is going to make it out there, to the rookie prospect game coming up in 2 Thursdays. So I would like to see them pick up a couple of guys and just see what they can work from there and really try to make themselves more of a name in this league than they did last season. Because now everyone's looking out for them, so now it's time to really push themselves and make a run. So that is it for today's show. I would like to thank everyone who listened to New York Sports with Jacob Seus. Please, everyone, continue to listen to National Sports and our great broadcasts. I would like to, again, thank everyone who listened and have a safe and wonderful weekend.